Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Bill. The top stories this hour. Gunmen invade community in Nigeria's federal capital territory, abduct 5 persons. Following the removal of Mudashiru Obasa as Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly reschedules plenary amid tight security. And citizens rally for peace in eastern DR Congo as fighting rages on in Goma. Details coming up shortly. Now let's begin with security matters. A family of 3 have reportedly been abducted in Chikakore, a community in the Buari Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. The gunmen were said to have invaded the area early Monday morning. The victims were believed to include a man, his wife, their son, and 2 other individuals. The abductors are yet to contact the victim's family, but this incident highlights a disturbing rise in abductions within the nation's capital in recent times. However, in a statement, the spokesperson for the police in the FCT, Josephine Ade, confirmed that a search and rescue operation has been launched to secure the victim's safe recovery and to apprehend the perpetrators of the kidnap. Now, the Defense Headquarters has confirmed that troops of Operation HADIN KAI killed over 70 insurgents, including 3 key commanders in ongoing clearance operations in Borno State. This is contained in a statement made available to newsmen and signed by Director Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba. The operation, targeting the notorious Timbuktu Triangle, began in 16th January. Neutralized commanders include Talha, a Special Forces leader, Malam Umar, an operations commander, and Abu Zaid, or rather Abu Yazid, a brigadier commander. Insurgents deployed suicide bombers, explosive-laden vehicles, and drones, but troops successfully countered these tactics. However, 22 soldiers lost their lives, and several others sustained injuries. The military urges the media to withhold names of fallen soldiers to ensure next of kin notifications are completed. And now to discuss this, we are joined by security analyst and Executive Director, Elixir Trust Foundation, Emmanuel Ikule. Mr. Ikule, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, what are the potential security implications of the high casualty rate of 22 soldiers? That sounds like a lot of soldiers. How does this affect troop morale and the broader security situation in the region?
Based on what has happened, it's a clear show that we are not actually winning this war against banditry in the country yet. There's still a lot to be done. I even say condolence. The families, so sad to the families that they have lost their loved ones at this time. It's actually not a good time for our country with the low number of security personnel that we have. We are even losing more when we actually need more to help in this fight against this insurgency in the country. So for me, it's not a good step. It's a bad situation for us, but we are hoping that our security agencies can put hands together and be able to, overcome this challenge that we have been facing. Especially as a lot of these steps were not taken earlier. It would have prevented it from getting to this point. When terrorists are having success with killing at least 20 security agencies, it clearly shows that to them they are progressing and they are succeeding in their own fight. So it's actually a bad situation for us.
So can the military improve its tactical response to reduce casualties, or was the loss of soldiers an expected outcome based on the nature of the insurgency?
I didn't get you.
I was asking if the army can improve its tactics, its response to reduce casualties, or is this just a normal thing? I mean, 22 soldiers is a lot.
The military can improve. At the same time, several conversations we have had before, it will be an encouragement to them if they can, particularly the Air Force, if they can actually improve from their own angle, because the the military, or should I say those that are on foot, there will be limit to their success if they are not working hand in hand with the Air Force while carrying out these operations at once. It will help to, at least those in the air will give some kind of intel or at least quick response when they see certain movements, and it tends to reduce the number of casualties we have on ground. But the situation has not helped. So for me, this killing has been going on for a long period of time. It won't be out of place if we can as well also get international experts from maybe Israel, since they have been very good at this, to actually improve our capacity in that area. At least to an extent, it will reduce these reoccurrences. A lot of also military personnel have been resigning from 2020 till date. It also shows that there are also gaps even internally, because there are also some persons that are also benefiting from this, and they may also backbite, which indirectly also affects those going out. And so for me, there's a lot to be done. Those that are in the field, they should ensure that their calls to a large extent, yes, we are talking about privacy and all that, but in cases of emergencies, like Section 45 of the Nigerian Constitution says, this is like an emergency for our country. Those that are in the field, they should track the number of type of calls they are making and who they are making it to, so that they can also internally check those that are also culprits or supporting or working for these bandits or terrorist groups in Nigeria.
So what long-term strategy should be pursued in Borno to ensure the insurgency doesn't regain strength? I mean, what role should community engagement, for instance, have? Intelligence sharing, there's also, I mean, how can these help?
Over time, the military security agencies, communities have lost trust in them, because at different times they have ended up being predators instead of being protectors. So for me, this is an opportunity why the foot soldiers are going out there to do their work. Also, others that, particularly those that works around communication or the part of the operations team, should also try to also relate better with the communities, the chiefs, and outside to improve their community policing relationship. That will also help their fight. At the same time, they are also supposed to also check the borders, and that is why I keep emphasizing that the Air Force have a big role to play in this fight, because it's better if certain equipment, drones can be used, better drones or equipment, improved equipment can be used to monitor movement of people, gatherings of people in these locations. And there are certain improved drones and equipment that can be able to cover a large area, local government, states, in monitoring and also checking movement of equipment and all that from different persons. It will help also the military or those on foot to also know the sites that they can follow or the routes they can use and be able to attack these persons without having casualties. And then the other points I made earlier, there's a crying and urgent need for us to work. I keep saying Israel, because they have been good at actually addressing issues of attacks like this. So we can learn from their expertise, and they can train, particularly the Air Force, in using of this equipment that can be able to quench some of these attacks from getting to the communities, or from even harming our security personnel that are in the field trying to work for us. So if this can be done, it will really help. And this is not something of some people.
Right.
The community also should realize that their land is also being affected.
All right, Emmanuel.
Whenever there's crisis or fights, it also affects vegetation and other things, and everybody should be concerned.
All right, then Emmanuel Ikula, thank you very much for giving us your expert opinion on the issue. Thank you. Good evening again. And now we return to our earlier story on the abductions in Abuja. And to bring us to speed on this, we're joined by our correspondent, Joshua Imirai. Joshua, good evening. Thank you for joining us. So what more can you tell us about the incident? We hear about the family and 2 other individuals that were abducted.
Good evening, Mazino. Well, Mazino, good evening. I'm currently at the Chikakore community here in the Kubwa district of the Abuja of the Kubwa district in the this vicinity here. That is the Buhari Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. And behind me is the house where it all happened. And I have with me here the security man who is on guard of this compound, and he saw everything as it transpired. And he joins me to give us a brief experience of what he saw while the assailants attacked this home. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Nice. Oh,
What is your name, sir?
my name is Kabiru Isusa.
So who are you in this compound?
I'm security.
You are the security?
Yes, sir.
So what happened? What happened in the...
Yesterday night I was here. I was inside the house. I was hearing the gate was shaking. I was thinking that whether breeze, because sometimes it used to be like that. So as I come outside, I don't see anybody. Go back to inside.
Okay.
I now come here. The gate was shaking very well. Whether they are knocking. The time that I want to come outside, I just see person. He don't already climb to the gates. To the gates. And I quickly through to the door. I want to open door, come outside. When I open to the door, and I just see him, he don't already jump to the inside.
How was he dressed? What was he looking like?
He was covering his face.
Really?
Yes.
So what was he holding? What kind of weapon was he holding?
You holding gun for him back like this. You holding gun.
How many were they?
When he was entering inside, you try to open the small door. When you open the small door, the remaining you just they do hand for them. Make them enter, make them come inside.
Okay.
So
how many people? How many people did you see yesterday?
I can't even know how many, but there are many. Because how they are working, there are many.
So continue with your story. Tell us your story.
Two of them go and set me with gun.
Gun.
Say any person where he come out, make them shoot him, make them kill him. So even my wife was inside with my own picking. So I just welcome my wife. I say, me, my own, you don't finish today because all these people where they don't enter. My own, that have already finished. I beg, make you take care of my children. Because those people, I know say they will kill me when they enter this place.
So when they enter, what was the first thing they did?
When they enter, they just press, when Nado, they try to open the gates. When they open the door, the person when enter, you try to open the door. When you open the door, you just they telling them, say, make them come to inside. After they come, two them go that side, was facing me with gun. So one stay around the gate. Some other they used to enter around.
So like how many people did they take away from here?
Like 4 people.
4 people?
Yes, sir. 5 plus another person.
Who are these people in this particular house? Who are they?
He's my Oga and his wife and his brother. Yes.
Has this thing ever happened here in this community before? Have you experienced any, even not in this house, in this area, have you experienced such thing in this vicinity before?
No, it was no happen.
No happen.
Yes,
Well, I have another person here who is a resident of this community who has experienced a like incident in this community, and he is with me here.
I think we might have an issue here. Joshua, if you can hear me, we're unable to hear you. But we're going to come back to you so we can have that conversation with the other individual in the neighborhood there. Thank you very much, Joshua Marai. Now moving on, the Nigerian Army says it remains committed to strengthening its relationship with sister security agencies and the civil populace to end terrorism and banditry in the country. This was as the 73-year battalion, rather 73 Rare Battalion, Janguza Barracks Kano held its 2024 West African social activities with a call on the public to partner with security agencies in their efforts to end insecurity nationwide. News Central's Emmanuel Bogudu reports here.
A talk of war game aimed at boosting social interaction between the military and the civil populace. The event, the 2024 West African Social Activities, popularly known as WASA. The excitement was clearly visible in the air as many soldiers for this occasion dropped their military fatigues for civilian attire, socializing with friends and family.
The event, which is held at the end of every calendar year or within the first quarter of succeeding year, forms part of nucleus that hold us together to perform our roles better within Nigeria or outside our shores. It also give our families the ability to live peacefully together, whether we are here with them or not.
The special guest of honor says that interagency and social collaboration is key to ending insecurity, which has continued to plague many communities in Nigeria.
It is also to have a very good civil-military cooperation. You can see it has brought front of the barracks, it has brought traditional rulers, it has brought the local communities, religious leaders, and that is the essence. And it's also to continue to engender this rich interagency cooperation that we have with other security agencies. One of the high points that you have seen today is the tug of war between the Nigerian Army and Nigerian Police. And this is how we work together to develop synergy with other agencies. And what you have seen here is a reflection of what we do outside.
Nigeria's cultural heritage was in full display as both civilians and the military joined the dance to celebrate the different cultures and ethnicities in the country. In Kano for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Now let's take a break. When we come back, in the aftermath of former Speaker Mudashiru Obasa's removal, Lagos State Assembly reschedules plenary amid tight security. Details when we return. You're welcome back. Now, it was a waiting game at the Lagos State House of Assembly on Monday as expectations for a plenary session were unmet. The legislature has been in the spotlight following the refusal of removed Speaker Mudashiru Obasa to accept the processes that led to his removal, raising concerns about how proceedings would unfold if he attempted to resume. Journalists who gathered at the Assembly complex to monitor the situation waited for hours only to be informed by Assembly spokesman Stephen Ogundipe that the sitting had been rescheduled. Meanwhile, the Lagos State House of Assembly witnessed a leadership change as Mojisola Miranda officially assumed office as Speaker. Her assumption followed the removal of Mudashiru Obasa on January 13th, despite his claims of unconstitutionality. Obasa was notably absent on Monday as security was tightened to maintain order. Now, Afe Babalola, a senior advocate of Nigeria, has withdrawn the criminal defamation suit filed against author and lawyer Dele Farotimi. Babalola had previously petitioned the Ekiti State Police, alleging that Farotimi defamed him in his book, Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System. This petition led to Farotimi's arrest and subsequently trial for alleged criminal defamation and cyberbullying. In the early hours of Monday, the legal icon decided to withdraw the case following the intervention of the Ooni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, and other prominent traditional leaders. Babalola expressed his dismay over Farotimi's accusations that he won all the cases through corrupt practices, which was why he initially rejected earlier pleas to drop the case. However, he ultimately agreed to the intervention of the revered traditional authorities. And live to discuss this, we are joined by Executive Director, Sterling Center for Law, Deji Ajare. Deji, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. Good evening.
Great. So, Deji, how does the withdrawal of a criminal defamation case affect the progress of the case and the rights of the accused in the Nigerian legal system? If you would please tell us.
Well, I think first we must commend Chief Afe Babalola for taking the decision to withdraw the criminal cases against Dele Farotimi. From the very beginning of this whole saga, my stance had been that resorting to criminal proceedings for a matter that could and perhaps should be handled as a civil claim was disproportionate and it was damaging. And so, well, the withdrawal is a welcome resolution. It helps to preserve the dignity of our legal system. And of course, it also promotes the idea of the primacy of civil remedies over criminal sanctions in criminal matters. Now, one of my initial concerns was that employing the instrumentality of the police force to address the allegations of defamation risked sending a wrong signal that powerful individuals may use criminal law to to oppress persons who hold opposing views, and thereby stifling criticism. For each disputes like this, one would expect, of course, the persona of Chief Afe Babalola given the fact that he is an icon in the Nigerian legal profession, his journey, his contributions, and his accomplishments are very well documented. And as I previously observed, persisting in criminal defamation proceedings could have overshadowed his otherwise distinguished career. And it would not have only tarnished his legacy, but it would also set a precedent that other persons could, latch on and institute such similar criminal actions against perceived critics, especially politicians. So the decision to step back from this path, it's a welcome one, it's a beautiful one, and we must commend the learned Silk for taking that step. It preserves his esteem, the esteem in which we hold Chief Afe Babalola rightly. Okay. It prevents any further reputational damage to both him and Mr. Dele-Faroti.
I hear you on what you say regarding his reputation for filing the case in future, perhaps maybe people who want to file such cases. But however, what about his withdrawing the case? Does that affect his reputation in any way, good or bad?
Well, you see, like I said, first, the problem with the step he had taken so far was the fact that he took steps to institute criminal actions against Mr. Dele-Faroti. Perhaps if all that Chief Afe Babalola did before was to institute civil suits to, seek remedies, perhaps it would have been less rancorous. It would have been less rancorous.
Okay.
And perhaps it might have afforded him the opportunity to actually clear his name. But going through the route of criminal defamation, a route that, generally, globally, it is no longer fashionable. It's a colonial thing. And, even under military governments in Nigeria, it was not a thing. It was not in common use. So going that route is the reputational challenge that we have, that I am talking about now. It is the reputation that Chief Afe Babalola will now acquire as someone who oppressed people who are opposed to him, who oppressed his critics through the instrumentality of the police force. That is the reputational damage we're talking about.
Okay.
But as regards the primary complaint of defamation, he could have sought civil remedies. But then again, if he's withdrawing it and he's letting it go, he's also acting as the big brother. And this also brings us to the fact that, look, it was the influence of traditional institutions and elders that led to this resolution. I'm a Yoruba man. Chief Afe Babalola is a Yoruba man. And thankfully, Dele-Faroti himself is also a Yoruba man. Now, there is a place for traditional institutions. There is a place for resolution. There is a system in place, and I'm talking about from time immemorial, for resolution of disputes, different from the Western-styled justice system, which encourages winner takes all. There is a system in place where traditional institutions are able to ensure that everybody goes home feeling not so bad.
Okay.
And I think that is what exactly played out here.
Okay. So how does criminal defamation differ from civil defamation? I'm sure somewhere there you touched on this, but I would like you to please define this definitively.
Well, it's simple. We see criminal defamation certainly will lead to a conviction of we can lead to a conviction of the suspect or the defendant, and may result in either a jail term, a fine, or some other punishment. And of course, whoever has also gone through this quite naturally becomes an ex-convict, even after fulfillment of the punitive terms that are awarded. But you see, in a civil suit, what the person who takes a complaint to court gets is either monetary compensation, damages, or some other sort of compensation, which could be like an apology, a retraction, or some other orders that would basically stop the defamation from continuing. And so, of course, the loss that that other person against whom the complaint is brought is that that person may have to part with the damages, monetary damages, and may have to maybe make a public apology and some other things like that. That way, the person who is making a complaint is able to clear his or her name and probably still get some compensation. Of course, like Chief Afe Babalola said, he's not interested.
Apologies there. I think we've lost Deji yet again, but I'm sure that he's made most of them.
If we discourage public discourse in a democracy, allowing government institutions just going in a frenzy without the citizens being able to have a say in what they say. And so criminal actions, no matter how badly a person feels, should not be a way to resolve cases or allegations of defamation.
Okay.
People should not run the risk, at the risk of being wronged, not be able to comment on public issues and public figures.
All right then, Deji, thank you very much and good evening for giving us your expert opinion on the matter here. Thank you. An activist and former presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC, Omoyele Sowore, has rejected the Nigerian police bail conditions and opted to remain in custody. He said he was asked to submit his passport and present a grade level 17 officer, the equivalent of a permanent secretary, as surety. Sowore had arrived at the police headquarters in Abuja on Monday morning after he was invited by the police for questioning over a viral video he posted, alleging extortion by officers at a checkpoint in Lagos.
Provide witnesses. What are we talking about? Are we playing in this country? Should we even be here discussing this kind of trivial issues? Should we be here? Is this the kind of thing? Look at, they just killed 16 soldiers. The police should be helping to restore law and order. The police have abandoned the responsibility of policing the nation, and they are chasing bed bugs all over the place. We'll be in court early in the morning tomorrow to file a threat for him. We will take all necessary legal steps to ensure that Sowore gets justice. We anticipate that the police have become so idle, because if not, why all this? How does this improve the well-being, safety, security, and protection of citizens and the nation? How does this? Should there not be an emergency meeting after the killing of those soldiers, that the police should draft officers to go and support the military in fight of banditry in the country?
And staying with the courts, the recent proposal by the House of Representatives to decentralize Nigeria's Supreme Court has garnered widespread support, particularly from legal professionals across the country. On 9th December, the House introduced a bill seeking to establish 5 additional divisions of the Supreme Court alongside its existing headquarters in Abuja. The proposed divisions would be located in Umuahia, Bauchi, Uyo, Lagos, and Kano. The initiative aims to enhance access to justice, reduce logistical costs to litigants, and expedite the resolution of cases. The Abuja headquarters would continue to serve the North Central region. Legal experts, including National Publicity Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, Bridget Edukwe, have praised the proposal as a much-needed reform to improve the justice system. Coming up, fighting near DR Congo's Goma region intensifies amid diplomatic fallout. This and more coming up shortly after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, a huge crowd gathered at Bukavu, a city in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, to support peace in the conflict-hit east of the country, as the Congolese army battles Rwandan troops and militia fighting in and around the Congolese city of Goma. Heavy artillery fire and gunshots echoed through the besieged Congolese city of Goma on Monday as DR Congo forces battled the militia fighters and Rwandan troops, while Kigali said 5 civilians were killed across the Rwandan border. We'll bring you that later subsequently. Now, in a shocking revelation, convicted murderer Janus Wallace has stated that he feels no remorse for killing South African Communist Party leader Chris Hani. Wallace was imprisoned for 30 years following his assassination of Chris Hani. Hani was shot outside his home in Dawn Park, Boksburg, on the 10th April 1993. His assassination had a profound impact on South African politics landscape and was a pivotal moment during the transition from apartheid to democracy. In an exclusive interview aired on Sunday by ENCA, Wallace expressed controversial views, claiming that he believes black people are not equipped to rule the country. He further asserted that he considers white people to be a superior race. To unpack this, we are joined by a member of National Assembly and member at Portfolio Committee on Defense and War Veterans, Carl Nieuwhuis. Carl, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening here in Nigeria.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Yes. So, Carl, can you describe your first reaction upon watching Janus Wallace's interview and what emotions or thoughts it provoked or evoked in you?
Well, it was absolute disgust and shock. I knew Comrade Chris Hani very well. We were close comrades, and I know how terrible the consequences were of the assassination of Comrade Chris for our nation. I know that we have probably been robbed by that killing of someone who could have become the president of South Africa and who was certainly the most popular member of the African National Congress at that stage. It had huge consequences for the direction in which the ANC went after Comrade Chris's assassination. It led to decisions by the ANC that up to this day are impacting on the people of South Africa and has not given us the full liberation that we've hoped for, and especially the full economic liberation that Comrade Chris Hani stood for during his life and which he articulated like no other until his death. So this disgusting racist, Janus Wallace, killed one of the most important persons who could have determined a great future for the majority of South Africans. He sat for this horrendous crime that he committed 30 years in prison, and yet it seemed to have had absolutely no impact on the man. It did not change his views. It did not make him understand how wrong he was, how terribly wrong he was in what he had done. I listened to that interview hearing a racist which is unrehabilitatable. 30 years of prison has made no change to him. Imagine saying that African and black people are less competent than white people. Imagine saying that he doesn't believe that black people, African people in South Africa should have the vote, that they should only have been given the vote in little allocated homelands. And the worst part of that interview was to see that he's got absolutely no regret for what he had done. In fact, he said if called on him to do so, he will do so again. So we have to ask ourselves, on that basis, how was it possible for Janus Wallace to have been released from prison? He was given a life sentence. And the parole system in South Africa determines that a prisoner who is given parole must show remorse, and that prisoner must also show that that person had been rehabilitated because of the impact of the sentence on his life. None of that has happened. Mm-hmm. So I'm deeply disgusted also with the South African government and with the judicial system in South Africa that we have allowed Janus Wallace to be released from prison. He should have stayed in prison until his very last day. And that was what the widow of Comrade Chris Hani requested. But her quite correct and deeply felt request was disregarded by the South African government,
Now, Carl,
disregarded by the judiciary.
Carl, regarding his lack of remorse, do you think that this points to a deeper issue, perhaps maybe a lack of accountability, or maybe a lack of consequences, effect of consequences, rather?
Yes, the consequences for Janusz Wallace should have been that he should have stayed in prison for the rest of his life. And I would have expected, if he showed any small sign of contrition, that he should have spoken about the whole background of how Chris Hani was killed, who was involved, because Wallace never came clean. He never spoke about the whole situation that unfolded around the killing of Chris Hani. We still today don't know who the other persons or powers in South Africa are that have been involved in that assassination, because it is evident to us that there was much more to play in this assassination of Comrade Chris Hani than simply Janusz Wallace as a single person with the assistance of Clive Derby Lewis, who apparently gave him the gun when to kill Chris Hani. Now, we must ask the question whether there are members of the South African government who are scared if Wallace was ever going to tell the full true story. Are there members of the African National Congress who didn't want to see the radical and economically sound views of Chris Hani to prevail within the ANC, who had been involved in this assassination? And did they move Wallace as quickly and as soon as they could out of the country in order to silence him and to make sure that that knowledge never becomes available and that they will never be brought to account? These are the harsh realities that we face with regards to this totally unacceptable release on parole of Chris Hani, of Janusz Wallace.
All right, then, Carl, I want to say thank you very much and for sharing your views on the issue. Thank you indeed, Carl.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the evening. Now, the world once again turns its gaze towards China for one of the globe's most widely celebrated cultural traditions, the Chinese New Year, also known as the Spring Festival. To mark the celebration at the weekend, the Chinese consulate in Johannesburg shimmered under the vibrant lights of festivities, hosting a grand gala dinner to usher in the Year of the Snake, a symbol of wisdom, beauty, and, of course, also of prosperity. Now, the 2025 Spring Festival Gala theme is Year of the Snake. Keep your spirits awake.
With every twirl and sway, the performers told a story, one woven with threads of friendship and respect. These performances showcased the beauty of this relationship, with South Africans displaying the vast cultural wealth they have learned from their Chinese counterparts. The relationship between China and South Africa has blossomed over the years, marked by mutual benefits in trade, commerce, and cultural exchange.
Today, we have prepared a variety of cultural experience booths showcasing Chinese traditional delicacies such as dumplings, pastries, and bintang hulo, a kind of sugar-coated fruits, and Mao Tai and its cocktails, showcasing the ceremonial tea making, Chinese ethnic costumes, calligraphy, and many other intangible cultural heritage articles.
Invitations were extended to South African government officials, friends of China, and dignitaries to mark this auspicious occasion.
So as we gather here, let us reflect on the shared values that bind us, that binds family, that binds hard work, and the pursuit of progress. These values resonate deeply in both South Africa and Chinese cultures.
The evening continued with a rich display of mesmerizing traditions that have enriched both nations. From martial arts to traditional music, the spirit of collaboration demonstrated just how far our cultures have intertwined.
Both celebration of New Year in South Africa and Spring Festival in China reflects new life or new beginning.
The evening was not just a celebration of the new year, but a toast to the shared prosperity that China and South Africa continue to cultivate together, each blossoming in their own right while lifting each other. As China embraces the year of the snake, they continue to forge ahead, hand in hand, nurturing a vibrant tapestry of partnership with South Africa.
Still ahead, in the aftermath of ceasefire deal, Israeli president confirms release of more hostages from Gaza. Details after the break. Join us then. Welcome back. Israeli President Isaac Herzog has announced that approximately 6 more hostages will be released from Gaza this week. Speaking at the inauguration of a synagogue in New York, President Herzog expressed gratitude to those involved in securing the agreement and extending the ongoing ceasefire. He highlighted the significance of international cooperation in achieving these developments and praised the efforts made to ensure the hostages' safe return. This comes amid continued effort to stabilize the region and address the humanitarian and security challenges in the aftermath of recent conflicts.
אנחנו נשמע בעזרת השם בקרוב השבוע על עוד 6 חטופות וחטופים שיחזרו הביתה. אני מברך את כל העושים במלאכה של ההסדר שגובש היום, גם ההסדר של הארכת הפסקת האש עם לבנון. להחלמת הפצועים בגוף ובנפש, להצלחת חיילי צה"ל באשר הם ולשובם של כל המפונים בצפון ובדרום הביתה.
It's a fragile agreement. It really is. The Qataris were enormously relevant. They were the people who were dialoguing with Hamas. The Egyptians were important. Everybody in the region was important. Ron Dermer, endeavor.
Now, for decades, China has been Africa's dominant economic partner, pouring billions into infrastructure, trade, and investment. But a quieter competitor is rising: India. While China builds roads, railways, and ports, India is fostering people-to-people connections, skill development, and grassroots industries. With Africa holding 30% of the world's mineral reserves and a population set to double by 2050, the stakes are immense. But as China and India push their agendas, a bigger question looms. Is this a new form of economic opportunity or a modern-day scramble for control? Dishant Shah partner Lee Jin-exim spoke to News Central earlier, saying that African leaders must be cautious when accepting loans and financial aid, ensuring they are manageable and sustainable.
The debt component that you talk about, it's not that just China is giving out debts, right? Even India is extending various sorts of financing options to African nations, right? But majority of our financial aid to these African nations is in form of non-recourse loans or grants, whereas China always have had some form of recourse wherein it can lay claims on various assets of various countries in case they fail to make the debt payments.
And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Gunmen have invaded community in Nigeria's federal capital and abducted 5 persons. And following the removal of Mudashiru Obasa as Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly has rescheduled plenary amid tight security. We also told you that Congolese have rallied for peace in eastern DR Congo amid fighting in Goma. Remember, you can watch News Central live on DSTV, Channel 422, Star Times, Channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.